broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing after shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us for another AFTERBUZZ TV After Show for Justified, Season 6, Episode 8, Dark as a Dungeon. I'm John Comerford, joined in the studio by Stephen Bottomley.
Hey, you can reach me at Bottomley Stephen on
Tamara
Twitter.
Berg.
Hi. You can tweet me at Tamara Berg.
And as promised, our very special guest, Mr. VJ Boyd, writer, producer extraordinaire.
Thank you. And I'm also on Twitter, at VJ Boyd.
There you go. So tweet him there if you have questions. And we will get to those questions because we've had a lot of fans calling in and writing in with their questions for you. So we'll put you on the hot seat for that. Before we get to all that, we're going to start talking about this particular episode, Dark as a Dungeon, which VJ Boyd penned along with
Chris Provenzano.
Thank you, Chris Provenzano.
Who is also on Twitter.
Okay, at.
Some kind of crazy.
It's time is free,
Yeah.
but with underscores between the words. So,
Okay.
But he's not that important. I'm the one you need to follow.
you're right.
As evidenced by the fact that you're here.
But you can give his home number out if you want.
Okay, I'll do that later.
Social Security, we don't care.
Okay, so Dark as a Dungeon, as dark as it was, there was a lot of spring cleaning going on. We opened up with Raylan deciding that it's time to get rid of the old. So, yeah, he was getting rid of everything. And was this because, I'm looking at you like I'm going to ask him questions right away, and I just told him I wouldn't put him on a hot seat.
Whatever you want.
But I was wondering, is this because he's just trying to, he's tired of waiting, he's impatient now, because this episode was him really pushing.
Yeah, what we were hoping was that episode 7 would signal a change.
Right.
At the end of 7, Winona says, no, I want to be with you, and he says, well, we'll try it.
And so he's making room for this?
Right, exactly.
Is he actually thinking that they're going to move in there?
No, I think he's planning on moving to Florida. That's why he wants to catch Boyd. It's like that's the only thing standing, and he's been procrastinating to a point, right? He just kind of, he didn't even see his kid all season 5. Yeah. He just kind of been procrastinating for 2 seasons, and now this is the turning point where he's decided, no, I'm going to get rid of this house, and I'm going to get Boyd, and I'm going to go down to Florida, and that's going to be my life.
Happily ever after.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what'll happen, too. Don't worry.
Yeah.
We're so confident about that. What could go wrong?
Yeah. There's no complication there.
No.
Everyone leaves Harlan alive. That's what I've heard.
I think that's how it goes.
Is that how it goes? It's really close.
I think that's what Max said.
Yeah.
But anyway, we also find out the locker, Arlo's locker, has got all his memorabilia, which interesting, the love letters or whatever was in there and all the stuff that we found. Notably the key along with the talk tags.
I have kind of a dopey production question that I wanted to ask, which is how many of those lockers did they have to burn up?
That's a good question. I wasn't there that day. Chris was there that day, so I don't know. I know that they created all the stuff to put in that locker, which was, so I always feel bad that the props department spends so much time on that stuff, and you see it for a split second, but I don't know. I would have to ask Chris on that.
I would imagine that there was at least more than one, because there were so, there were so many items and so many beautiful little, obviously
trinkets.
real bits of something.
Well, we had it may have actually only been one. At the end of season 4, when Nikki Augustine's car is shot up, that we only had one. We only had one shot to do that, and so they had to get the Steadicam of him walking away one time, or we would have had to go back and shoot it all the next day. Sometimes,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying. Sometimes it is only one.
And then when everybody knows that, you go, don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and I suppose, you're so good at your jobs by now, kind of getting in the groove that
the production people are, at least.
Yeah. You hit the stride at the last season. It's like, oh, damn it, we feel like
just
one more.
when we've got it in the pocket.
I like that scene when he's looking through the footlocker because, first of all, it brings back Arlo. Second of all, you realize Arlo did have a whole history. He had the past. He had all those memories. We only got to see Arlo in a two-dimensional character when you saw him, and you both dimensions were pretty bad.
Yeah.
But here he's looking at the pictures. This is the crap that meant something to him, and he saved it.
Right.
And then when Raylan just goes, F you, man.
Right.
I'm not going to honor that. I'm going to burn that.
Yeah, it did contextualize him, and also even more so when we get to later, which we'll talk about in a second. But when we're in the room. Because there's a whole history that Raylan has created that's not even there.
Yes.
So this is the actual stuff that that's what he puts the fire, and then he has to put something else to rest later, which is something that he made up.
Yeah, that's the other thing I liked about it is you got to see Arlo in a different.
Yeah.
And then you were brought back to the.
And
original.
I'm assuming the picture that was his mother. Or do we know?
I think that was supposed to be Francis.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She's a looker.
That was nice. I like that because that was the only time I got a sense.
She's dead now. So.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Well,
to each their own, Steve.
I'm just never mind.
So, and I guess what is the turning point? He decides, Tim comes and they're ready to, their 24 hours is up, get back on the manhunt. He has no interest because now, as we just mentioned, he's impatient. He's tired of waiting.
Right.
I don't care. I got to get to Florida. I got to put this to rest, everything to rest, so I can tie up all these loose ends. And that's why he decides to go and find Zachariah, which was a lot of fun because I've never seen Raylan get hit like that. That one I beg your pardon, a couple of seasons ago, he did get beat up after, but he was drunk or had been drinking.
Well, remember when he got strung up?
Well, that's
he got
true.
strung up by Dickie. He also got beat up by Lindsay Salazar's boyfriend.
Oh, that's
the MMA
beg your pardon. Okay, so I duly corrected. But I just didn't think Zachariah was going to be the one to do it, so that was kind of a surprise. Was that something that you guys set up in the room, or do you say, hey, it'd be kind of fun if Zachariah punches back?
It's actually interesting. At that point in the season, we were, of course, behind. So basically, me and Chris were making up a lot of this stuff while we were writing it. We kind of just had a framework. We knew what was going to kind of happen in 9 and didn't want to ruin that. So it was just the idea of that old Western thing of a couple of guys punching each other a few times, and then it's okay. That was what we were going for.
Like when he's on the ground, he says, you had enough?
You had enough?
Yeah, when he's on the ground, you had enough?
Yeah. Was anybody else waiting for him to grab a chunk of wood and just cold cock Raylan?
Yeah.
Kinda, sorta?
Yeah.
Something. That was a lot of fun, though. Is that how you envisioned the scene too? When you
in my mind there was more fighting, but this makes more sense because you can only really take a couple of punches and then a real fight is over. So I think it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, it was very good. Yeah.
Yeah, and he leaves him in the right place, which is you're in deep shit either way.
Yeah.
So
nice.
I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Sure. Nothing.
And gave Raylan choice. I mean, Raylan left. He could have arrested him or tried to whatever, but
how
this speeds along Boyd's actions, which will enable him to catch Boyd and put him away.
Leave the dynamite there. Let him do what he's going to do with it, so I can catch him when he's doing it.
Exactly. And of course, Raylan isn't aware, and Zechariah kind of alludes to this that Zechariah wants Boyd dead. He says things aren't always what you think they are, right? And so, and Raylan doesn't know that, but may find out later. We'll see.
Which pushes him to go and meet up with Avery.
Yes, yeah.
So that's a lot of fun. Well, and by the way, those scenes, when you guys have those things going on, are they a blast to write? Because they're a blast to watch, because those guys interchanging with all the great dialogue, are they as fun to write as they are to watch?
Oh, of course, yeah. Okay. I mean, Sam Elliott's great, and he's definitely a professional, and it's great to work with him.
When you're writing to those characters, do you really have to wordsmith that? Just like, okay, it's Sam Elliott, how do we get every nuance? How do we melt that?
Sure. I mean, I think it's somewhat instinctual at this point, but we certainly go over it many times. And I think this episode gave us a lot of opportunity because there's a lot of people confronting each other, and so there's a lot of that verbal conflict, and that's always fun.
While we're at it, I might as well. I sent out a tweet, as you know, that asking fans if they had questions. And Emily Kaz87 was asking if it was hard to write for Boyd, seeing as he's so eloquent and loquacious.
It is.
By the way, is he your namesake?
No. Elmore Leonard named him that in the short story. Right. So, and then in the book, Raylan also. So
but
I get asked
why
that
you got hired?
Maybe that's why I got hired.
That's what I was wondering. I'm sure there's some sort of synchronicity there.
I need to ask Graham. Is that why you hired me?
You just write Boyd better than anybody else. That's right?
I honestly, Boyd was the hardest person for me to write, probably until this season, because it was just so hard for me to grasp that he can go so over the top and it's okay. Like, I would always write him more like a normal person, and instead you just have to really swing for the fences and have him say things that no actual human would say, and that's really difficult for me. But I think this season I finally was like, okay, I'm just gonna have him say the craziest, most eloquent eloquent things, and Walton loves it, and he can deliver on it. So, and it also helps that he is so into this character. I guess not anymore since we're done, but he was so into the character that he could tell you, Boyd would never say this, and I'd be like, oh yeah, you're right. I guess he wouldn't. You know, he was so into it, which is helpful.
Oh wow.
You have a well-thumbed thesaurus.
Yeah, exactly. No kidding.
Used it.
Yeah, I wonder if you do that. Because it's like, God, we've gone through all of them.
We've gone through every word Boyd could possibly know.
We'll just make up new ones.
All right, we're going to German.
Well, this week we had a good one. This is one of my favorite lines, which is, you want some leftover chicken? It's all been ate.
It's all been ate. Yeah.
And
Was that written E.T. or did he just deliver it?
It was,
way?
I believe, I don't remember. I honestly don't remember.
Curious.
Sometimes in my mind, it all gets conflated and I forget.
Yeah.
It evokes, I'm just country folk.
Yeah. Right.
I've nothing going on here, Marshal.
All right, so we got to get back to our thing. So he goes to Avery, and they have their little tete-a-tete, and he says, Avery, I'm here to get Boyd. To get Boyd, I got to get too tight, put out the reward. So that's how we get to that storyline, and that's what forces the showdown with Ty, which isn't much of a showdown.
So are you talking about when Raylan sees him? Because we've got a whole thing that happens before that, with Boyd and Ava. Do we want to get to that later? Or?
Yeah, well, I was just going to go to the tie part of it because...
Well, you just passed over my favorite line.
We'll get back to it.
I beg your pardon, Steve. Go ahead.
I'll just crawl under the table. I don't matter.
We don't need you. I mean,
you see the star? Kiss my ass, Markham.
Okay, there you go.
That's just good.
Yeah, no, I thought it was awesome, too. I think Chris wrote that scene, and that was... that's great. And I've, of course, seen the episode several times because we saw several cuts, but I watched it when it was on TV also this week, and it was awesome.
That goes to one of my questions.
A lot of good lines in this one.
That's what I'm curious about, because you live with the story. You broke the story, you live with the arcs, you write the drafts, and you rewrite the drafts, and then you see it shot from I don't know how many different angles and different takes, and you still watch it. You still get charged by watching it, or are you done by that time?
No, as long as I'm happy with how it turned out, then yes, I still enjoy it. Cool. And I really enjoyed this one. This is one of my favorite ones I've written. In fact, I would say this was my favorite one I've written.
This was a lot of fun. This one had a lot of fun stuff.
Well, then I have to ask the flip question. Any cringe moments where you go,
that's
show's
happened.
Over. They can't fire you. Just want to point that out.
That's happened before, but we normally cut those scenes. We normally either cut the scene completely, or we go reshoot it. We've had to reshoot scenes before, or completely rewrite and rejigger scenes. And we had a scene in season 3. It was the one where you reveal that Raylan's staying on above the bar. But instead of, we had this whole sequence, which is actually from one of Elmore's books, from the book Raylan, where these college students come and start making fun of him and following him around. And it kind of works in the book because Elmore can make anything work. It doesn't work on screen. It looks like something out of 1985. It's like, why are these generic college students trying to start a fight with this guy? And so we completely cut it and reshot a different thing. So that does happen, but you normally don't see it. Fortunately.
Good choice.
Good.
Thank you very much.
Well, it's fascinating that you go through the whole process before you go, guess it doesn't work.
Sometimes. That costs a lot of money, so the best thing is to avoid that.
That's true. Yeah, we'll just have to jettison this.
I'm learning a lot today. Editing and don't waste money. Wow. Damn it. I should have known this stuff earlier.
All right, so that takes us to Ty, who has snuck into Boyd and Ava's and decided he's going to offer them a deal to see, because he knows the combination of the vault, and that's how we get all the money. And I just like the scene when Boyd comes up. Wow, Raylan Givens, and he welcomes him with open arms, and Raylan knows right off the bat what's up. And I love also Raylan. This is where you really see how impatient he doesn't care. He's just, and the whole thing about the balls, I want to see your balls, he's just baiting him the whole time. He just wants to get him so pissed off that he makes a bad move, right?
Yep, exactly.
So that's
he wants to hurry him up, and the goal with that scene, and we kind of got there, and you can't go too far because you always want them to have that playful banter, but was for it to be a little less playful, a little more direct.
Yeah.
I've been lying to you. I want you to rob this thing. It's just them being somewhat direct with each other because Boyd has found out that he's been using his fiancée as a CI. That's a big deal, and Raylan's in a hurry. like 7 was a big turning point for both of them. So I think that we accomplished that. I mean, a lot of the viewers seem to notice, man, they were very direct with each other compared to how they normally are.
Yeah, that's what I thought was great about it, because I think this really shows it's like Raylan kicking a door in, but metaphorically. And then also the fact that he has that nice little line. He's like, part of me is going to miss this when it's over. And I think everybody watches going, yeah, we really are.
That worked out.
Yeah. Did you mean for it to be that inside?
I never even thought about it when it was on the page.
Oh, yeah?
But when I watched it, I was like, it was obvious.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so that was a nice little moment for everybody. Like a little Easter egg for those of us who are paying attention.
Yes.
So that was nice. I appreciate that. So, of course, Ty, I like also the Ty's overhearing all this, and then you just hear the thump, and he's gone.
Yeah.
That was a nice little thing. And then get shot. So what does he say at the end there? He doesn't say anything?
It's not just money.
It wasn't just the money.
But we don't get to hear that, so we just...
I have to say that I love that scene, and I didn't write it. Chris wrote that, and I mean, we didn't break how he was going to die. The whole, it was on the board. It was just Ty Walker dies, you know, and so Chris just made it up when he was writing it, and I love it because it's so ambiguous. It's such it's a very real death scene. It's like, it's not a big showdown. He's running away. He's running for his life. Raylan comes out and shoots him. He's like dies. He's saying not just money. He's just trying to defend his honor. I mean, no one as they're dying wants to be told they died for nothing.
And here he is, a soldier. A soldier doesn't want to die for just money. I mean, that just has no meaning.
Yeah, so I think that some of the audience may have been disappointed because it's like, oh, Dillahunt, he's amazing, and he is. It's like, oh, I want them to draw down, but hey, there's a few more episodes. You'll get to see some showdowns, and I thought it was surprising.
That's why I liked it, because I felt this soldier, this is the way he dies, how horrible for him, and that's kind of the way things go sometimes in Harlan, is that somebody who you'd want to die a virtuous or heroic death, no, that's not going to happen here.
Oh, well, I took it as, because, in previous seasons, the bad guy is always dying in a cool way. Arms cut off, all this sort of stuff. And he gets shot in the back. And the first thing he says is, you shot me in the back. Like, wait a minute, I'm the final villain. And I get shot in the back? And, of course, one of the best lines, again, there's...
you want to be shot in the front, you should have run toward me.
I thought it was awesome. We almost didn't shoot the scene that way. We had blocked out when I went, because we, of course, go scout the location, and the director, Gwyneth Order-Payton, who's awesome, who used to direct a lot of The Shield, and she does Tyrant now, but we went and looked at the location, and we were going to have Ty being hiding up in this hill that's back there, and Raylan was going to be searching for him. It was very tense, and then Ty was going to miss him, and then Raylan was going to pull and get him in one shot, and it was going to be cool.
Sure.
But it was written the way we ended up shooting it, and it was because we were running out of daylight. And so they said, you know what, let's just do it the way that it was written, and I like it better.
No, I do too. It does seem like a really real way to end your career.
And it does allow the big shootouts to happen for Markham and whomever else.
You did save some squib money. Yeah. That I'm guessing we'll be using later.
We've been looking forward to the squibs.
There will be some squibs. There will be some squibs.
Poor Mark.
So that was our, and at the end there, when he's trying to still figure out where he fits in the whole plan, and I was kind of feeling sorry for the guy.
For Markham?
No, for Ty.
I beg your pardon. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah, in the kitchen, and I like how now he's sitting in Earl's chair. All this stuff is like, oh, well, guess who's the soldier now? So I was feeling a little sorry for him.
I did. That's why I thought it was really good, because in some respects, his life, his trajectory was, I'm a soldier. I'm doing this for my country. All that kind of stuff that goes in with being a soldier and serving, and then he has nobody to fight for except Markham. That's who he's left with,
right?
Yeah.
And I just
he's
think
kind of caught in Markham's web.
Yeah. And because who else is going to utilize his talents?
Yeah.
But somebody like that with nefarious means.
And he's an awesome actor.
Yeah. So,
he was great.
He was really fun.
Yeah. Was it like things like the way he called Tim, you're such a dick.
Yeah, when he said, you're kind of a dick guy, huh? Yeah. He's great, yeah.
Like, is that stuff that happens on the day, or is that,
It's a mix.
It's a mix. So it's a collaborative.
With Garrett, he pretty much did stuff as scripted, so that was probably scripted. In fact, I think that was in me and Dave's episode, probably. But a lot of times, Tim and Walton are allowed to make up a lot of stuff, as long as it doesn't screw up what's supposed to come next episode. Because they know their characters so well, and Tim is an executive producer, so he's my boss too. So if he wants to ad-lib something, as long as it doesn't screw something up, it's fine. fine.
Well, so speaking to that, we've read and we've heard from Jacob as well that that the set is relatively collaborative. Is that similar with the writing process, or how does the writing process go? I'm jumping ahead.
Yeah, we're jumping ahead.
Sure, that's fine. I mean, Tim does have input on the scripts too. Is that what you mean? Yeah.
Well, that, but also, okay, so you wrote this with Chris Provenzano, but how we were talking about this beforehand.
Okay, the beginning of this. Now I know we're jumping ahead. Sorry, we'll get back to the episode. But for instance, at the beginning of the year, the season, the arcs are laid out, the themes are laid out. Is that something that the room does, or does Graham come in and say, "This is what I'm thinking," and then you guys chime in? How does it work?
It's a mix of those two things. Yeah, I mean, we're all in there every day, unless we're off writing a script. Right. So yeah, I mean, the details are generally left for the writer to come up with, unless someone pitches some crazy detail. And it's like, oh, that's great. Make sure you do that. Right.
So you break the plot, and then whomever is assigned whatever, you go write this draft, and then do you table the draft again with everybody?
Sure.
Or
You bring it back in, and people can give notes. I mean, mostly it's Graham, and we have like a glut of executive producers, so they all give notes mostly.
And glut is the operative word. It's a professional. It's not like derogatorily in any way.
No, there's like 10 executive producers on this show.
It's like a murder of crows, a glut of executive producers.
I have many bosses, but they all will give notes and such.
Which ones did you ignore?
I don't ignore them.
That's right, because you still want to work. Yeah, that's right. That's the right answer.
I have to get another job, guys.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, we'll talk about that part later too. All right. So, all right. Thank you for that. We'll get back to the storyline now. With where were we? So Todd got killed, and Raylan. I guess the next scene with that particular storyline is the night with the lawyer,
Attorney Geist,
attorney. Yeah,
it was good to see him.
Have ponytails.
Yeah,
that's right.
Is that yours?
No, Chris wrote that, and that was we weren't even going to have that scene, and Chris was like, "Oh, we got to have this scene to explain why Raylan doesn't interrogate him." So he wrote it in like 10 minutes, and just like I had him say this funny thing, and it was really totally worked.
It makes the whole scene work. It's like, why else bother? That's good for that.
There was another very funny thing in that where Boyd pops out from behind him. So are we done? It's like,
I didn't even notice that.
Oh my God! It was like
no one's nice talking to you. And then the third thing with Earl, they look back at Earl, the split lip.
Oh, he gives us a finger.
Damn.
Yeah,
that was some good stuff.
Yeah. The only thing you were missing were the headphones for the attorney. He had to wear in prison every time.
That's right. You remember that?
Absolutely. Lots of fun, man. I mean, and as a 10-minute, you wrote that in 10 minutes.
Yeah, he just went back and wrote it. Yeah.
On the day or something?
No, it was ahead of time.
Okay, God, I was gonna say. Yeah, we need a scene. Go right to him and go.
That's happened before.
I bet. Yeah, how many times? Does that happen a lot?
I mean, you already have to be at a location. It's not like we can say, hey, we need a scene at a grocery store, and then we can go get a grocery store. There's permits that to be gotten. But sometimes it's like the very first episode I ever did, which was Guy Walks Into a Bar in season 3. The bar scene where Lindsay is talking to Raylan, and Raylan's trying to figure out what he's going to say in court the next day. Yeah. He's there with his notepad. Tim didn't like the way the scene was originally written and was like, I want it to be something like this. And we were shooting in 15 minutes, so I had to write that scene in 15 minutes. So that was like my first or second day on set ever. So I was like, oh, this is how that's going to be. So it worked out.
Yeah, it worked out fine, right?
Yeah,
Did you like the scene better?
It was fine. It was fine either way. I got to write it. It worked out. The audience is happy. I'm happy.
Yeah. So, and so how many are on set? Writer producers on set? Is it always one at least one? Because you have to make sure the plot doesn't get messed up. And
at least one, unless like Michael Dinner is one of our executive producers.
Right,
so if he's directing an episode, we don't go because he's also a writer and he's an EP, so he can do whatever he wants. But any other the guest directors, we always go. Yeah.
Let me ask about that. So you're on the set, and let's say there's something that isn't working. What happens there? Do they turn to you and say, "We need something," or is it? Do they say, "Hey, what do you think of this?" I mean,
it could be either way. I mean, you get all things. Like sometimes I'll have to interrupt and say, "Okay, I see why you think that works, but we're doing this because we're planning so and so." Like there was a lot there was actually a lot of argument. Well, I don't want to say it argument. There was a
discussion.
A lot of discussion about the Duffy guacamole scene. And they were like, do we need this? Like the actors didn't understand why we had that scene, and I explained how everything we're doing in that scene, was setting something else up.
Well, speaking of that, so what were you setting up?
I'm not going to tell you. I don't want to ruin it for you.
There's a theory. There's a theory at this table that we will discuss.
I actually want to hear the theory, though.
No. Let's look for guacamole.
No. Well, when we get to it, it's down the list.
Okay. All right. So, moving along, then.
I forgot. We as the attorney. Where were we after that? We take Boyd. Yeah, we take Boyd back to the Gettysburg before.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, why would you do that? Never, you don't let the but of course they're just baiting him, setting the trap and everything.
They're doing because Raylan wants to go.
Oh yeah.
And if Boyd doesn't make a move, Raylan can't leave.
The lever.
Absolutely.
Just keep forcing it down and
that's a lot of money.
I like the shot, especially the side shot with both of them looking into the vault. And
a lot of people noticed that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was kind of fun.
And
just enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Just enough. Even Raylan, I'm like going, no, it's safe because Raylan's there.
Yeah, and I really love the way the last scene between Boyd and Raylan when he says, "I'm trembling with anticipation." Then he hears that little thing, and then you say, "Oh, that was just sweet."
Good.
The tremble there. I mean, that was all scripted, I'm assuming. And
yeah,
that was nice. That was really fun. I just love the way that was so ominous.
That was making me really nervous. That scene made me nervous.
Oh, really?
Yes.
You thought something was going to happen?
I thought the boom was going to be bigger.
Oh yeah, you thought something he was going to fall.
They have 2 days. This is only the first day. They've got another day.
Yeah.
Oh, thank goodness.
And this is episode 8. We got a few to go. So yeah.
But the good news is, there's people to kill and there's dynamite.
Yes.
So.
And we haven't used up all our
squibs.
Our special effects budget.
According to my numbers, there's a lot of squib money left.
There's many. You're correct.
Thank you much. All right, and then of course the big thing with the reveal at the end. Now I really want to talk about the whole secret room, Arlo's room.
Yes.
And how that came to be because I was not expecting that and didn't. Why would I? But then the shot of Arlo and you heard his voice and that's one thing. Then you saw him. It's like, geez, that freaked me out. I haven't got freaked out at all about it.
It was an incredibly creepy scene.
That freaked me out a little bit. And who came upon that? How did that happen in the room? Did you guys just go, hey, what about this?
I mean, we came up with the idea. I mean, honestly, Chris was really instrumental in a lot of this stuff about Raylan's past. Mm-hmm. So he pitched the idea of that opening scene where he's getting rid of the stuff, and everyone was like, that's great. And then he said, and he should find a key to something. And I think it was actually someone else who said, it should be a root cellar, and he should wonder, it should be something that had a childhood myth for him of, I wonder what's in there. And it kind of represents, everything that's evil wolf. About it is exactly. And so, then the idea of him being a ghost was something, and Graham said this in interviews too, that Chris just did in the script. It was just going to be him going in there and realizing there's nothing there, and it was like, well, how do we dramatize that? Is he going to talk to himself? And it's like, okay, let's just do the ghost thing. We haven't really ever done it before because when Arlo saw Helen, it was because he was going crazy, right? But in this case, it's not really Raylan seeing Arlo; it's Raylan talking to himself. Yeah. And I think it was very cool. It's something we haven't done before, and that's one of the reasons I love the episode. Is it's kind of different.
It is different. Things. I loved it. I thought it was extremely effective because how else could you dramatize what the hell he's thinking? I mean, there is no, you have no
pop-up thought bubbles. Yeah, that's but like the text in House of Cards. The thoughts are like on the screen.
That's also something you haven't done before.
Yes, that's true.
Raylan could have Twittered to himself.
Oh, I like that.
Thinking about Dad right now.
Yeah.
Dad might be here.
So, and I now what I'm also curious about now when you're talking themes at the beginning of the year, was this the scene where you look, how do we put his past to rest? Because the whole thing is about past, future, burying the past.
Shadows.
There's actually graves and digging up the past and digging up the graves. I mean, all that kind of imagery and all those themes. And now, was that part of from the beginning, or did that evolve over time?
I mean, I think it was very much that idea. Because the whole thing was like 7's a turning point. How does 8 illustrate that 7 was a turning point? Right. What does Raylan need to clean up? Right. And so that was the point of that, so that we can go forward into the last 4. Yeah. So
and I loved all the language about the past is a statement, the future is a question, and then the past. No, they're fighting for who's going to live. I mean, all that stuff. And even Markham saying the past is your shadow. No, it's not.
Well, the way it was written, I mean, the way it played out was definitely that Boyd and Ava, their past is still chasing them. They're trying to figure it. And at the end, Raylan's standing in his past, and there's no there there.
Yeah. And he's standing in his unknown future. He even says the future is a question mark, and he says, where do you put this? Your guess is as good as mine.
This is what I loved about it, is after that whole journey, his decision is, bring the past with me. Just tear it up.
Take it up.
Because you can't outrun it. You might as well bring it with you. Well, half of it anyway.
So
it's like I get moving his gravestone. I don't have to die here.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Exactly.
He may be the only one that leaves Harlan alive.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't
That
know
is
either.
weird,
I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Wouldn't that be weird to see your own gravestone every day?
Yeah,
I know. We talk about that a lot. That's so weird and creepy.
Yeah, why? I mean, I know it's not uncommon.
People do it, so I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, it's like,
you know what I do? I would
fate or something.
I would just go out and like chisel 2087.
Right, exactly.
On the
Finish
death
it.
days. You know,
it's like some Grant Morrison sigil magic right there. I like that.
Yeah, creating my own reality.
Yeah.
That would be weird though. Every day's Halloween.
All right, so anyway, I just like those themes, and I thought that was well executed and illustrated. It was a lot of fun for me, anyway. I think everybody else enjoyed
Yeah,
that. This for me was one of the best of the season. I really enjoyed this season too.
Thanks.
I thought it's been fun.
I've been very happy
there from the
with
beginning.
It. Yeah,
right?
and this was my favorite season working on the show, and it's been one of my favorites watching it too. It's been great.
That's great.
We've been saying here that it seems like the writers have been like just
having fun.
Having fun, you know, it's like let go, you know, here's what we need to button up. But I mean, is that how it felt?
I don't know. No, it didn't. No.
So John's been wrong this whole time.
It was very difficult, but it was very fulfilling. You know, it was one of the best times I've had because I got to write 3 episodes and never got to do 3 in a season before. And we've been the same writing staff now pretty much the whole time, at least since season 3. It's been this core group of people, and so it was just one last go around, but it wasn't easy because there were so many things that was like, oh, we can't, this is our last chance to do this or that. And it's like, what do you leave behind?
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
And there definitely was a lot of push-pull with, like I said, there's a lot of producers on the show, and there's a lot of people who want different things, and just no one's going to be completely satisfied. I think the audience hopefully will be completely satisfied. He will not be a lumberjack in the end. If you watch Dexter.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
People were unhappy that he was a lumberjack at the end.
Stephen loved that joke.
So as a non sequitur, you guys were like, "What is wrong with this guy? Okay, get him out of here, a lumberjack."
No, I was just thinking an axe and body part.
Dexter, so that was the only reason why we didn't get it. All right, that's the Boyd Ava storyline that I was fascinated by was the end one when they're talking there. They got you want 50 grand, you want 10 million, all that back and forth there, and Ava's so desperately trying to give him the choice to get out while the getting's good.
Yeah,
I don't think she sees any happy ending out of this.
Joelle's doing a great job, did a great job. It's all done. She's done because it's been so ambiguous what she wants. So much she just wants out.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. She's being pulled both ways, and she's having to play them both. And without her giving a great performance, it wouldn't be clear. And it is clear.
Yeah.
So
and she was so locked up last year. Yeah, literally.
Oh, I know. Every time I was on set, when I saw her, I'd be like, "Hey, so next episode we're going to be in prison," because the entirety of season 5, she never saw the other actors. All her scenes, it was one day a week at this prison that's now closed in Whittier. They tore it down actually. It was a closed juvenile prison, so all her scenes were just out there. She never saw anyone else, and she had no change of clothes ever.
Oh God, was she going crazy?
I don't know. Probably wasn't fun.
I can't imagine it being fun.
She must be glad to be back because she's been doing great this season. It's been so much fun.
Much bouncing back and forth like crazy. What a great thing to play.
Yeah, she's really had an opportunity for tour de force performances of this.
And especially I love it when she's bouncing between Boyd, because the argument she has with Boyd, a completely different argument in a different way with Raylan at the end there, with them, fighting back and forth. Her just please somebody don't kill me.
Just don't kill me. Don't kill me today. Don't kill me here.
Yeah. What I enjoyed when Boyd was trying to, have Ava see their future, because once again he created his future with empty boxes and just crap from his office. And to Boyd that was $10 million.
Exactly.
And I'm looking at it, I go, it looks like empty boxes and crap, Boyd. But and I don't know if this is what you guys are intention, what it was, but it seems like every time they talk about their future, I'm noticing it's like enclosed, or it's not really wide open look at what we have in front of us. It's always kind of enclosed in. Or is that just...
Well, I mean, I think there's supposed to be a feeling that it's just something they're talking about. It's like, can they really go off into the sunset or whatever? I mean, does anyone really foresee that being the ending? I mean, I'm not going to tell you, but generally Bonnie and Clyde don't survive in that way. So, I mean, it is supposed to have a foreboding feeling about it.
Look at Tam. What you think he's giving anything up? Like there's going to be a hail of bullets?
I'm not giving anything up. No.
Boyd and Evan in a car.
Yeah.
They get ambushed.
We've had enough experience with people on this show that they don't tell us anything.
Oh, no, they shouldn't. It's so fun to try to get it out.
No
You know it's not going to happen.
I don't want to ruin it for you.
Yeah.
I hate spoilers. I would hate it if I was sitting there and someone ruined it.
Yeah. No, but as soon as the cameras are off, we're going to be peppering you with questions.
All right. Did you have anything else to say about the Boyd Ava thing? I thought you.
Well, just the moment in the house when Ty's there and all that, and with her tied up, going for the gun, going for the knife, going for the duct tape. I enjoyed that. And Ava's scene with Raylan. So just speaking again, I tried to jump in, but I just couldn't at that point. Ava's scene with Raylan at the end, you can see her just slightly unraveling. Joelle Carter played it so perfectly. She's just talking a little too fast. She's a little hysterical isn't the right word, but just like you can see her kind of unraveling. And in the very next scene, Raylan's like, she's burned, I know it. It's genius. That's all I wanted to say about that.
That was a fun little scene between Erica and Rachel and Raylan.
Yes.
She's burned. Oh my God, why?
Yeah.
So good news of the bad.
But as far as we know at this point, Raylan doesn't know that Boyd knows Ava is his CI.
No, I think that, I think that's what it would mean.
That's what it implies. The fact that she's burned
when he's
means
talking to Rachel, he's saying, she's found out she's trying to play me.
Yeah.
That Boyd knows. I think that's what he's trying to say.
Oh, okay.
So, but on the flip side, you'd be correct if you said Boyd does not know that Raylan knows.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And that'll be explored a little further going
If that
forward.
sounds smarter, that's what I meant to say. Pretty sure.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds smarter coming out of him.
Sure does.
How it came out of you?
You want to trade places? Because seriously, this chair, there's something wrong with this chair.
No.
Where are we?
We're talking about the one thing. We had the great scene between Art and
Catherine.
Avery last week. Now we got to have Art and Catherine this week.
Yeah.
And of course, before that, we have the guacamole scene which I was like, what, the guacamole? What the?
I'm not saying the guacamole's a setup.
I know. I
just
understand
mean
that
the
part
scene
of it.
as a whole.
I know. I understand that part of it. It was just fun, and then the whole thing about let's play doubles.
Wow. Don't talk out of turn.
What?
The look he got.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And then
Mikey.
I'm just curious about that particular scene. It's like, let's bring Mikey in. I mean, how does that?
Well, that was some of the discussion. Why is Mike talking so much? And I explained to them why, and you'll see why.
Okay, there you go. All right.
We're trying to develop Mike into a character.
Okay.
All right. Well, I do have a question about that scene. So, what was the deal with her unzipping her skirt as she leaves?
Oh, with the art scene with her unzipping her skirt.
The way I wrote the scene, there was a lot more of. There's a thing that Tim Olyphant always says about scenes, which I think is very cool, is that you want the audience to always feel like someone's going to get fucked or someone's going to get fucked. And so the goal of that scene was to feel like, why is Art going in here? Is she going to try and seduce him or is she going to kill him? Right? And there was a lot more of discussion about those two things than I wrote the scene. And the scene was just too long. And so we cut it just to the information. But there was her saying, you want a drink? And he says, my wife wants me to cut back. And she says, oh, but she doesn't mind you coming into a woman's hotel room, right? And so then it made more sense. Like it kind of played into it. But that's the only taste of that you still have.
Well, no, it opens up with
Art. Yeah, why did you invite me here? And he says, pretty lady like you, clandestine hotel meeting.
But
it bookends the scene, so it works in that regard.
Good.
She's just like fucking with him, really.
Yeah, exactly.
So and he may have gotten fucked. so it works. The Timothy Olyphants together.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna remember that. Who's getting fucked in this scene?
She also says something that we've been talking. She says, "Didn't Gordon Keith work for you?" And she talks to Wynn. So
and Wynn says,
since
no,
we don't know who the
Markham.
snitch is, we're thinking Wynn.
Yeah, it's Wynn.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. Well, you'll see. I mean,
you'll find out.
I mean, obviously, the whole events that set in motion what's going on with Markham and Catherine. I know it's all backstory. I don't know if it's. Hopefully, it's interesting to you guys.
We've been postulating all kinds of things.
Good, since it set the ball rolling, but that will you'll find out more about it. We won't leave you hanging.
No, good. And we got introduced to Grooves.
Oh, Grooves, yeah.
Grooves, excuse me, that's what I meant to say, but it's like, well, okay, what is that?
I should have brought when...
what the hell is that?
It's funny... there will be more talk about Groobs later in the series. I don't want to ruin anything, but it was funny that was just a one-off conversation I wrote in the script, just because I was like, okay, they need to be talking about how they're going to get him out, so I just made up this character, and then it ended up like Walton on the day was like, I want to know more about this Groobs guy, and then in the room, it ended up that Groobs was a fix later on in a later episode, and which I named it after a guy I know in Dallas. I'm from Dallas, and so it was funny. After he became such a huge part of later episodes, I got a Christmas card from him. I showed everybody, here's a Christmas card from the real Groobs. He's gonna be so excited.
Nice.
So is he as oddly described in the show?
Well, that's why I described him that way, was just to be funny, because I knew I'd get a kick out of it. But no, he's a nice guy.
Okay,
he's a radio guy. So.
Yeah. Speaking of radio guys, we had Jackie Crow.
You had him here?
No, in this episode.
Okay.
I didn't. You know what?
He's a real Harlan radio guy, and Graham goes on his show a couple of times a year, like after the first episode and after the finale. And we had that scene, like I had pitched in the room, because we were like, okay, what can Raylan do? Because he can't
force a hand.
Yeah, and I said he should make or get Markham to offer a reward, and on the radio. And so Graham said, well, why don't we just bring in Jackie Cornette? Who goes on Jackie Crow on the radio?
Yeah,
so
exactly, which is great.
Yeah, and he did great.
Again, another synchronicity thing with the names, because
yes, it was. I was kind of like, oh, this is going to seem funny because his name's Crow, and we had the Crows, but no one seems to care.
No,
I just figured it was a relation.
Yeah, and because there's so many. It's like,
Crows.
Exactly. He's just way on the other side of the spectrum.
He's
of the
on the
family.
good family.
Yeah.
They made something of
He's not
himself.
a family tree. He's a family shrub part of it.
Yeah.
He's so good he dropped the E.
Yeah, there you go.
He dropped the exactly.
So that he wouldn't get confused.
Yeah.
But it's still pronounced the same way, so he didn't quite go far enough.
So,
Yes.
But that was fun to see him. When I first watched the episode, I just assumed he was an actor, and then I found out that. So I thought that was great.
Yeah, he did a great job.
You flew him in for that? Or did you? Okay. Yeah, I even bought. I mean, it was great. The set looked fabulous too. I thought this looks like his real place.
No, we built it in an ADR room up on the stages. So it was like, oh, this already kind of is built for this kind of thing. So
yeah, it works great. Yeah. So you took it over for a day or whatever.
Exactly. Put some posters up on the wall and
nicely done.
Perfect.
Bottle episode? No.
Trapped in the ADR room.
Yeah, exactly. Hey guys, sorry, we're gonna need this for about 2 hours. We'll make it quick.
Beat it.
Yeah. So I guess that's it for Art and Catherine. Was there anything else in that scene that you wanted to say? I just love that Art is still picking. It's just peeling the scab.
I hope it ends okay for him. I hope nothing happens. I'm worried.
So I am curious about that. So
nasty.
Last season,
just a little
That's
bit.
just mean.
Last season, do you have characters coming up going, okay, so can I pitch how I'm going to die?
Yeah, do you guys
I really want to pitchfork through my head.
A lot of people when they come on Justified pretty much know they're going to die.
Yeah.
Or at least I think they should.
Yes. You've proven that.
Especially if you're a villain. Garrett Dillahunt actually said early on, because I was there for the first episode he was in, Cash Game, which was number 2. He was in the premiere, actually, but then we introduced who he is in episode 2. And he was saying, a lot of times guys die in TV and it's like a silly gunfight where everyone misses all the time. And I said, don't worry, we're not going to do that. And so I was crossing my fingers, we're not going to do that. But so that's the only time really I've had anyone saying, how am I going to go? It's like, I know I'm going to go, but I want to go a certain way,
Really? None of the regular actors are like coming up to you going, seriously?
Oh, you mean...
I mean, they know now, but
Oh,
earlier.
So you mean like the regulars and all? We might kill off some regulars. Maybe we're not going to kill off any regulars.
Don't say any names!
So how is Wynn Duffy going to buy it?
Yeah, I'm going to say.
You know what? He's going to be headed to Mars.
Poison, bullet, or explosives.
Right.
What's going to happen at the very end of the series is he's going to take off his VR helmet, and you're going to discover this has all been a video game when Duffy's been playing. It's an Oculus game, like 20 years in the future.
Is he going to be sitting in a restaurant with his family and his daughter's going to come in
cut to
and
black.
music's going to play and cut.
And then that's all inside a snow globe. And then all of that is a dream that someone's wife is having.
I want to be in that
and
writer's
it just keeps
room,
going
man.
and going.
And then he
That's
just looks at the camera and closes the door because he's just another schmo.
I'll be interested to see how you guys feel about any characters that might die, if anyone dies.
Yeah, if anyone dies.
This is suddenly turning into the Brady Bunch.
All right. Okay.
They all live with one bathroom.
Sounds super satisfying. That ending we just came
Anything
up
else
with.
about the episode? Otherwise, we want to talk just about what's your tenure on the show, and then what you're doing now, and what you hope to do later, and stuff like that. So I just wanted to ask more about first of all, you got the gig. You came in the beginning, right? You were a writer's assistant.
That's correct.
Like that.
How did you know that? Yeah.
We know
Internet
things.
research.
Yeah, exactly. So how did that even happen? How did that happen for you?
There's a lot of people in LA who are trying to become writers. I mean, that's kind of where you start. You start in the mailroom or whatever.
Exactly.
Pretty much in any Hollywood business, right? And so I cold called places until someone needed an assistant, and it happened to be the show The Beast with Patrick Swayze.
Okay.
And so I worked for some great guys over there. And then when that was over, my friend Keith, who's also a writer on Justified, he knew Graham from Reigns, because he worked on Reigns, which is the Jeff Goldblum show. And he said, "Hey, Graham needs an assistant. Graham Yost does. Why don't you go interview for that?" And I did. And he did not give me the job for his assistant. He called and said, "Well, I'm hiring someone else for that. Do you want to be the PA, like the lowest level assistant?" And I said, "Absolutely," because I need a job and I want to be a writer, right? And so I went and did that. And then for some reason, before season 2, a writer decided to leave because he was going to bring everyone back. And one writer said, "I don't want to come back." And that happened to be the lowest level writer, which is the spot I could fill. And so I said, "Hey, will you read my stuff?" And he did. And he liked one of the scripts he read and hired me.
Do you mind telling what script it was? What was it?
Sure. Well, actually, I'll expand very briefly on it, because just to say how many people I owe this to, and anyone who says that they succeed on their own, they're liars or deluded. I mean, not only did I get that job through Keith, the assistant job, but then I gave Graham 2 scripts. He read one and didn't like it, and he gave the other one to his assistant, Amy McKenzie, and said, "Read this and tell me if I should read it." And she read it and said, "You should read it," and he read it and hired me. And if she'd said no or just not cared or not paid attention, I wouldn't have this job.
Wow.
But no, I gave him 2 scripts. One, the one he didn't like, was exactly the following, but except that Kevin Williamson did a little better, and so his is actually on TV. But it was exactly that: a cult of serial killers led by a guy, et cetera, et cetera. And the guy's in prison, like at the beginning of the following. So anyway, and Graham just doesn't like serial killers, which I didn't know.
Okay.
And then the one that he liked was a supernatural procedural. Like, I love Buffy and shows like that, and so it was in that vein, like a Buffy Fringe kind of a thing. But it was very action oriented, and Graham loves action. And I also kind of learned to write action by reading his scripts, coincidentally, like reading Speed and things like that. And so I think that's one of the reasons he was like, "Oh, he can write this show." It's funny, there was a supernatural show and a semi-grounded crime show.
And it's a procedural, because this is much more character driven than a procedural. So.
Yes, but Graham also likes close-ended things. Like, we always try to have each episode have like an end and not be like a damages kind of a to be continued. We want each episode to feel of a piece, which we sometimes succeed at. So,
but you always you still have the through line, so it still works both ways. So.
But anyway, so that's how that happened, and then I guess the rest is history. And then as the show goes on, everyone gets promoted.
So let me ask you this: when you got Guy Walks Into a Bar, you said, "Okay, here it is. We need you to write an episode." How did that one come in?
Well, that was actually an insane experience, because I was writing season 2, but I didn't actually get a script with my name on it. But I did. I was in the room and stuff, and contributed. But then in season 3, that script, I wrote a completely different script. That script was not that. It was Guy Walks Into a Bar, but it was a bunch of guys in body armor. It was a bottle episode. It was a bunch of guys in body armor holding the bar hostage while Raylan, Quarles, and Duffy were in it. In fact, at first it was just Raylan and Quarles. Then it was like, okay, don't change it and put Duffy in there. So I had a day and I rewrote it so Duffy was in there. And then a couple of days later, they said Tim didn't like the idea. And so we said, okay, we have to make up a whole new story. And so it was madness, and we just rewrote a whole new story. And Dave, who's one of the EPs, helped me with it. And so anyway, it was a totally different story, and we kind of were making it up on the fly. We were writing more scenes on set than I've ever done since. Wow. But it ended up being okay.
And it was a bottle episode. Jeez. Man, that's stiff. Okay. So then tell me what. There must be lines like, God, is there a way to get that in there? Or lines that you didn't get to use or lines that you wished you had written? I'm just curious. How do you handle that? It's like, how do we get that in there? Or ideas that you didn't get to use?
I still, that's That's so tough. There's so many things there. I mean, we've broken entire episodes that we haven't used. There was one we always joke about because Ben Cavell had actually written half the script where these Memphis cops were going to come up, and one of them was dirty, and I don't even remember the details, but he'd written half the script, and then we said, we're not even going to do that. So then we had to come back in and make up a new thing. So we always joke about the Memphis cops and stuff. But I'm struggling to come up with something, some specific thing. I've been very lucky to get a lot of the stuff in. Like, I've gotten a lot of friends' names in there and lines. I reference other movies oftentimes with my lines. Like, I referenced Heat in this one, the Born to Lose tattoo on the chest, and the liquor store holdups, and I referenced Silverado in every episode. I did in this one also.
Nice. Which part?
When
I love Silverado.
It's one of my favorite movies. When Joel says he lives about grooves, he lives like a wildcat up in them hills. Remember that Ezra says that to Danny Glover. I've gotten pretty much everything in there. I'd say there's definitely some stuff. If I end up lucky enough to come talk to you guys after episode 12, the penultimate, which I also did with Chris, there's stuff in there that was in our first draft that I would have loved if it made it. So I can tell you guys that then.
Okay, well, cool.
If and we certainly hope it does happen, we must have apple pie.
Yes, we must have apple pie.
And whiskey.
That sounds awesome.
Bourbon.
It's tough to watch that show and go, well, I don't want to drink.
I have moonshine.
Really want
I have moonshine in a Mag's apple pie jar that our production designer made for us. So
as long as it's in the glass and not the jar.
I'm going to have
had Dave Glass on.
And he brought some.
He did.
Yeah.
I need to go back and watch your episode.
No, that's right.
He's a fun guest. He gave us a lot of inside stuff. I have some tweet questions to ask you. Some of these I'm a little skeptical about. One of them is Mark Roomba, Roomsy16, wants to know how you feel about the word ragonk.
Ragonk.
Sorry.
I actually was interviewed by the Dallas Morning News recently because...
Are you from Texas, by the way?
From Dallas.
Okay, that's
because
the reason.
I do... And honestly, 3/4 of my followers are just from Dallas because I do lots of references to inside jokes on 1310 The Ticket, and ragonk is a word from The Ticket.
Yes.
It's not a real word. And everyone's very upset that I have not put ragonk into Justified. How on earth am I going to put ragonk into Justified?
This guy's name. You put in grooves.
Grooves at least sounds kind of like a name.
Yeah.
Ragonk.
You gonked him on the head. I mean, you can't.
Could be a mining term.
You asked that one. It's awesome.
It could have been ragonk dynamite.
That's actually a great brand. Thank you. Where were you when I needed you, Steve?
Right here, man.
Dickie would say something like ragonk.
He would.
Do we too? Yeah. So go ahead, Tam.
Do you like eggs?
Well, you may recall that Garrett Dillahunt said... what about eggs?
The frittata?
What about eggs?
Yeah.
Which is also a ticket joke. So, what about eggs? That a radio host once accusatorily asked a guest, what about eggs? Because they were asking a health question. It was so accusatory that it's become a drop. And so people were amazed I worked that in. But I'd structured that entire scene around the phrase, what about eggs?
What about eggs?
Nice.
And here I am thinking that he doesn't have enough time to write. He has so much time.
Here am I thinking it's really deep, and then no, it's mostly about a radio show.
That's how I have fun.
Danny S365 just wants to know, did you like the gig? Did you enjoy being on Justified?
I love my job.
Yeah.
And he's saying that now after it's over, right?
No, I do love my job.
All right.
Child of the Wind wants to know, what projects do you have lined up next?
Well, I'd love to do... I did a comic book last year called Ghost Cop, which you can buy in Comixology, or the graphic novel's available on Amazon and other places.
Sci-fi noir type.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's and so I'd love to do another comic book, so I'm pitching to comic book companies, and then I'm waiting to see where I'm going to work next. So it's not really interview season for TV jobs right now. Coming up in April, I'll be doing a lot of interviews. So.
And I would imagine that having Justified on your resume would rate you pretty high.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Right. One other question. Now, going in that you're writing a series that's based on Elmore Leonard. Is that daunting at all, or do you put that out of your mind? Because I just have to do with the task at hand, or how does that?
It's that one. I just put it on. You put it on your mind, and I read before I write the first script of the season that I'm going to write. I read a couple of chapters of Elmore to get that voice in my head, and then I'm like, oh, I remember this.
Okay.
I'm good.
Did you get to work with him?
I met him once, season one, or a couple of times, season one. But then he
Good job, kid. No,
he came down in a later season, but I didn't get to see him because he went to set and I wasn't on set. But he was a really nice guy. I was an assistant then. And he was perfectly cordial and from all accounts, a great guy.
Yeah. Well, he certainly was a genius when it came to character and dialogue.
You guys have picked up that
But
torch.
you know what? This season, I've noticed it was kind of like he's over you guys' shoulders because there was a lot of Elmer-esque lines and little things people would say. I go, yeah, that sounds like a novel. That sounds like it came right out of him.
All right. Well, we got to wrap this up.
Out of here.
We are so appreciative. We thank you for your time.
It's been a
pleasure. And more than that, it's just been a pleasure to see your work on the screen.
Absolutely.
I mean, your talent is obvious, and we can't thank you enough for not only being here,
really
but actually putting it out there for us to see.
We would love for you to come back.
I will.
Absolutely. All right,
let's cut this so we can find out what happens. Oh,
just one quick shout out to Paula Place, talking about how we saw Choo Choo on Battle Creek this week. So Choo Choo is live. Jake Davis Roberts. Okay. That's it.
And where can they find you one more time?
At VJ Boyd.
VJ Boyd. At VJ Boyd. Tamara Berg.
At Tamara Berg.
Yeah, Bottomley Stephen.
And you can find me here at AFTERBUZZ TV /Justified. Well, thanks very much for listening, everybody. We'll talk to you next time.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AFTERBUZZ TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AFTERBUZZ TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.